Welcome. Today we're going to be working with images. We have a specific problem here. I'll show you what it is. Okay, here I have a list of images, and let's just bring this out to make it a little bit bigger. Now when we look at these images, we can see a few details. We can see the size in bytes, and we can also see the pixel dimensions. The problem is that a lot of the images that we're working with are greatly different, like 6.8 megabytes, 6,000 by 4,000 pixels. This is way larger than it needs to be for what we're going to be doing with it. And again, they're not always exactly the way that we want them to be. So there's a couple of objectives we have here. The first thing we need to do is get some of these image sizes down. 30 megabytes might make for a great photo, but it's way too big for web. We need to get this down as low as we possibly can. So we need to consider where the image is going to be used on our website and the final size that it's going to be in pixel dimensions. We know that we're not going to ever be displaying anything 5,000 pixels wide on a web page because most devices are only capable of displaying at the most 1920 by 1080 pixels, which is HD definition. So we don't need that many pixels. We can reduce it. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at some tools that we can use to get these images to where we need them to be to use on our website. So let's just move this over to the side a bit and bring up our browser. So there's the dashboard of the website that we're going to be working on. I'm going to open a new tab, and in this tab I am going to type squoosh.app. SQUOOSH.app, which brings us here. Now this is an application that was made by Google. It's a great tool. Doesn't have everything you would want in it, but to start with, it's going to help us out a lot. So you can see here on the instructions, drag and drop or select an image. So if you don't like drag and drop, you could always just click here, and then it's going to ask you, okay, where's the image? You go find the image. But we'll just use the drag and drop feature. So let's start with this first one in our list. So just drag it and drop it. Now what you're seeing here is a split image. So the image on the left is the original image, and that's sort of noted here. This is the original. This one over here on the right is a compressed version. Now notice the size. So we were starting out with 295K, and over here we're already 111K, so less than half. So that's pretty good. The other thing that you can do with this, if you drag the slider back and forth, on the left it will show you uncompressed. On the right it will show you the compressed version. Right now there's really no discernible difference. Very, very little. Slightly, ever so slightly blurrier on the right hand side. But that's a result of compression. Most people won't even notice that, depending on the quality settings that you use here in the right. So the other thing that you can do here is if you want to zoom in on a particular area, just use your mouse wheel, and wherever you have your mouse pointer, that's going to be where it centers the zoom. So if I want to look at this specific point and zoom in on it, I can zoom right in on that specific point and zoom back out. Likewise, I could zoom in there and zoom back out. And then wherever I'm zoomed in, I can move the slider back and forth to get an idea of what the compression is going to do to the original image. So that's it in a nutshell. Now let's take a look at some of the options that you have over here. The first option, resize, that opens up a sliding control that shows you, okay, this is the actual pixel dimensions that we're going to be working with. Now I know that these particular photos are going to be used in a bio section, they're probably going to end up being portrait. Even though this shot is landscape, it's probably going to end up being a portrait shot. So height-wise, I think I could probably say that this is never ever going to be any taller than 300 pixels tall. Just based on the fact that the average screen height at max would be 1080, so a third of that, around 350 maybe. Let's say 350. So let's make the height 350 pixels. Notice it automatically adjusted the width for us, which is great. There are some other options here. I don't really think you need to be too worried about those. There's also advanced settings, but those are really geared more towards photography professionals. If you open that up, you'll see what I mean. So channels, all advanced stuff. The only one that you might play with here would be smoothing. But generally, you're probably not going to need to use the advanced settings. So now we're down to, by reducing the size and having the compression quality set at 75, we're down to 58K, which is significantly smaller than what we had before. And also, we're going to end up cropping this photo as well, so it's going to be even smaller than 58K. So I'm happy with this result. So let's download this. It's going to save it to my desktop, or my downloads folder, which is the default place where my browser downloads files to. Yours might be different. So just keep in mind where it's actually downloading. And also bear in mind that it's got the same file name. So what you might want to do is in your folder where your files are stored, you might want to create a subfolder. And let's just call this compressed. And now with that folder selected, I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to drag it into that folder. So if we come back here, we'll see, there we go. It's 720 by 350, 58K as compared to the original, which was 295 and a little bit bigger. Okay, so we could go through, let's do another one. This one here, this one's gigantic, and we're going to need to fix this. So let's drag this one in. And we see the original 6.8. Let's zoom out. It's a big image. So we know right off the bat we're going to have to change this. So let's say this one, I'm going to say 400 in height because I know I'm going to be cropping it. And if we consider, if we compare these two images, actually they're actually pretty close. And with this one we ended up going 350 pixels tall. So let's make this one 350 tall as well. Notice it adjusts the width automatically and it's calculating. And look at this, 19K down from 6.8 meg. 100% smaller. It's almost too much to calculate. Slightly blurrier. Maybe we'll bump up the quality on this one a little bit. Roughly, we're going to make it roughly the same, 58K. So let's download that one. And make sure our compressed folder is selected, and we'll drag that one in. Okay, so I'm working on a Mac, so I know that if I double click this, it's going to open up my image preview. So let's do that. And let's just have a look and see what we got. That should be fine for what we're going to be doing with it. And it's not going to end up making our page load really slowly. So I could go through and do the others, but you get the general idea. So what do we do with these images after we've compressed them and saved them back to our desktop? Well, let's go into the dashboard because we said we wanted to crop these images as well. So let's go into our media library. We'll select Add New. And let's just drag both of these into our media library. So it's going to say that it's uploading them. There, they're both uploaded. So let's work on this one first. So just click on it. Now, as soon as I open this, you have the option here to add some alternate text. You could change the name, etc., add a caption. But what we're more interested in right now is editing the image. So click Edit Image. That will pop it up in this view. So we want to be sure that our bio images on our website all have the same aspect ratio. Otherwise, they're going to look strange. Like if one is really wide and the next one is tall and skinny, that's not going to look right. So we want to make sure that they all have the same aspect ratio. So a common aspect ratio for a portrait photograph is 5:7. So let's just make the aspect ratio 5:7. Now if I come over top and I start to drag a box, you'll notice it's going to maintain that 5:7 aspect ratio. And so I'm going to make it as tall as I can and then just try to center it so I get the best possible crop just by dragging it. And then when I'm done, click the crop button. That'll take a second to process, and there, now it's done. Now I can save this image. Okay, now let's close out of this and let's do the other one. So open it up, click Edit Image. Make sure the aspect ratio is 5:7. Drag a cropping window. Adjust the crop and click Crop and save it. So there. That's all there is to it, and now we can use these images inside our posts or our pages as need be, and I'll show you that in a future video. Thanks for watching.